Dear parents, we are very happy to see you here at our webinar. So this series is about the psychology of the relationship. So we've got two visitors today. So the first is Lin Ti, there's a school psychologist, and Mrs. Olga Moskivitina, Ph.D, and so the professor at the university. The University of the Russian Academy of Science. We hope that this information will be very useful and not only just entertaining. When we got to know Mrs. Olga, and while choosing the topic for this webinar, we were given such an example. And this example really caught my eye and caught all of my attention. So the question is, what kind of a garden you would like to have? A garden that is well taken care of, or the orchard that really needs a lot of work? So when we look at the picture of the beautiful garden on the left, we can imagine that a lot of hours of work was put into it. And so the question that arises, how many hours do we have to spend cultivating and trimming all the things in the garden? So we can relate to the process of upbringing of our children. How many hours do we have to invest into their well-being and upbringing? Do we want our children to look like that beautiful garden or the garden that needs a lot of work? Dear parents, thank you very much. This is Miss Lin Ti Chan, and I am happy to greet you and would like to talk to you about the gadgets that our students are using in our life, in everyday life. So we have this situation when children start using the gadgets a lot because there are several psychological reasons for that. So now let's talk about the gadgets and about why the students are using them so eagerly and spend a lot of time. So if the children do not find satisfaction in their relationship with the peers or adults, then they try to find the outlet of their emotions and needs in gadgets. So let's look at the Maslow pyramid. These are the pyramid of the needs of the people, that the needs of the person. So, and we see that they are as physiological: food, water, rest. Then there's a need of security, safety. So then we have the intimate relationship and friends, which is the love and belonging. So we see that another level of this pyramid is feeling of accomplishment and the self-esteem and esteem of other people, and also achieving one's full potential, self-actualization. So let's just ask each other a question. Can the children meet all those needs without adults? To answer this question, we have to think how teenagers are different from us. Are they really different? Are they the same? Let's just talk about this. So when we enroll the students into the school, it's just a very small, naive and young child who plays, who likes to play, and who gets easily offended. then gradually the child grows, the changes take place. So the little child discovers a lot about his body, so his brain gets developed, and that definitely affects the way how the person, how the child values and sees himself. So the teenager does not consider himself to be a child any longer. And so he starts acting differently. He acts as an adult, drawing from the examples of people around him. So if we do not treat him right, if we do not respect him, then the teenager starts opposing us, starts fighting us. So right here on the screen, you see the list of the problems that you might face with your child. Or could you please read through this and write in the chat the number of the problem that you face most of all. So problem number one, the desire to argue and oppose oneself to parents and adults. Number two, the desire to attract parental attention, to be in its center. Problem number three, emphasizing the independence and independence from parents and adults. And number four, defined appearance and demeanor. So please, in the chat, write the number of the problem that you face most of the time. Sometimes all these are represented, but sometimes we can clearly say that this or that problem happens more often than other problems, and we face those. So please use the chat for this. Well, we can do it differently. So let me read the first statement, and you can just either agree or not, say yes or no. So the desire to argue and oppose oneself to parents, adults. Yeah, we see that many people pointed out the second problem, the desire to attract parental attention, to be in its center. We can assume that if that happens, then our children lack the parental attention. So many of us singled out number one and number two problems. Now, let's see what this problem can be related to. So, well, also please write the number of the problem that you meet often. So now let's read through the situations and just you try to analyze it and look at it from the point of view of the parents. Lack of contact with their children. Because of this, there is a misunderstanding of how children live, what their interests are. Ignorance of interests entails the inability to speak with them in a friendly way. Lack of contact can cause a feeling of own parental uselessness and alienation. Number two, disrespect and harsh attitude of children, frequent quarrels and conflicts. Number three, the anxiety caused by the fact that children do not live the way they should from the point of view of their parents. They do not meet the expectation of the parents. And so number four, Okay, now let's try to see what are the main age psychological trends of the teenage problem. So the way the teenagers act is the result of how the children feel. So the teenagers feel mature in the moral realm. So they watch the older people, and let's say they see that this or that adult is using this or those words, and some adults have some trends that they follow, and if the person is respected by the teenagers, then so the students, the teenagers try to copy this or that person. Well, very often the children are told that this is the way you should act. However, so the teenager is looking around, looking at the people around him, analyzing what's happening, and so they're setting out their mode of operation and their a set of patterns of behavior based on what they see and how they feel. The teenagers are just children that are growing up. So that's why their world view is not completely set and is not completely formed yet. So that's why they are being easily influenced by adults, by peers. We know that the teenagers cannot become adults overnight. So they're looking for the peers' approval. So they really need this interaction with their peers, and to be respected by those. That's why if the values if the values of the people who surround the teenagers differ a lot from the values of the teenager himself, then there's a conflict. So very often we parents, we oppose the set of values that is offered by the peers, and we would like to have a different set to for our child. And very often then the parents have the dilemma like the one illustrated in this sculpture. So the parents start meditating, how do we solve this problem? On one hand, the child is growing, the child starts forming his own interests, and but on the other hand, the influence of the parents grows weaker and weaker, and as the peers influence grows larger. The psychologists point out that um, at the age of 11, the preteens, for the preteens, the parents are still very important. Their set of values, their remarks, their comments are very important, and the preteens are very sensible to this. However, at the age of 11, so they start forming their own set of values. And according to the psychological surveys that were that uh, often and often offered to the preteens, we see that before the age of 11, so the meaning, the values offered by the parents are domineering. However, um, starting from age 12 and up, so the importance of the set of values of parents grows weaker and weaker. So and very often the biggest mistake of the parents of the preteen is in that slow motion effect when the parents are still in that phase where they believe that their point of view, their opinion is domineering. So they do not pay attention to the new forming set of values that is being formed by the preteen. If an adult does not change his attitude towards a teenager, then the teenager himself becomes the initiator of the transition to a new type of a relationship. So the resistance of an adult to new social relations with a teenager evokes response resistance in a teenager in the form of various forms of disobedience and protest. So the child really, really needs the adults, but the parents have to be rather delicate in dealing with the preteen and the teenager. And we have to adapt our attitude towards the teenager, because otherwise we will meet a wave of and a wall of resistance in a teenager. So now we are going to look into this question: what do teenagers want? Well, here on this slide, we see a list of criteria of love that is used by teenagers normally. So that is the interest that parents show in his life. Well, the teenagers challenge us all the time. So they challenge us to see whether we really love him or not. And they see if we are interested in their life. So the parents have to show interest in what the child is busy with. So the teenagers are watching the adults, uh, and so they are evaluating what amount of time the adults parents are willing to devote to them. Okay, so let's imagine that the parents are happy with me, and so they spend some time with me. However, are they ready and do they desire to be with me, to be near me, and if necessary to provide for me in various kinds of assistance? And the teenagers also expect the attention and friendship of their parents. However, so they are very peculiar in this respect. They're willing and they are ready to receive that attention and friendship. However, very many of them are not ready to offer the attention and friendship back. So we have to interact with them and just bring them to the point where they can express their friendship and show their affection and attention. So this way we form trust. There's such a technology which is called whose problem. So we adults, we understand that if the child has a problem, very often, it's in the long run, this is our problem. The child's problem is our problem. And if we have a problem, then there are some parents, and I'm sure that so there are such kind of parents among us present here at this webinar. So there are some parents who just put all of their problems away and they just start dealing with the problem of the child. Okay, let's look at the picture on the left. The girl is upset. She's obviously bullied by the classmates. So, and if the parent finds out about this problem, so the parent should deal on it, or should act on it. And whose problem is this? Is this my child's problem or my problem? So in this particular case, this is the child's problem, and we should separate their problem from my problem. This is the problem of the child. However, let's take a different situation. The child is okay, so Obviously, the child does not have any situations that could be classified as a problem, but the child is calling for the attention, um, um, antagonizing me, doing something to direct my attention. Like, whose problem is this? Is this my problem or the child's problem? So, and if the parent try to answer this question, whose problem that is, then the parent should have two ways to solve the problem. If this is the parent's problem, then the parent has to take action and to do whatever it takes to solve this problem. However, if this is the child's problem, then we have the parent has to talk to the child, try to give him a piece of advice, and if needed, to be near that child, together with the child, while the child is solving his or her problem.
Скажите, пожалуйста, вот просто поставьте плюс, если вы испытываете затруднения в том, чтобы отделить свои проблемы.
Well, dear parents, could you please help me and by putting a plus in the chat if you believe that you have a problem analyzing whose problem this or that situation is. Let's say your child has a problem at school and you have a difficulty evaluating whose problem that is. So do you even think about that? Do you even try to analyze whose problem that is, or you just jump into solving that problem right away, or vice versa, you ignore that problem altogether? Because if this is the problem that is connected with the school, then obviously this is not my problem, this is my child's problem. So put a plus if you have if it is easy for you to evaluate whose problem that is, and if it is easy for you to separate your problems from the child's problems. So again, plus if it is easy for you.
Не удается, вижу. Действительно сложно. Вижу, кому-то удается, хорошо. Смотрите, когда вот к нам ребенок приходит расстроенный.
So when the child comes to us and he is upset, we need to talk. But before we talk, so we cannot just tell him, okay, now, so tell me what it is, let's analyze, let's sit down and talk about it. However, what we need to do in the beginning, before we start jumping at suggestions, we need to talk about the feelings of the child. You need to ask him what he feels in this or that situation. Okay, now we'll be talking about communication with the students, and this is one of the biggest arts, the most complicated art, the communication. So in the family, we have many people. So many people with different attitudes, different feelings, and it's very important to have some points of connection for each and every one of us in the family. So let's talk about what we could do to grow together closer as a family. Okay, we can definitely put the relationship between our skills in communication and draw and come to the conclusion that the more successful we are, the more skilled we are in art, the more successful we are with people. You know that a game that we all like to play, it's a broken phone, when you whisper a word into the ear of the friend, and then the word that is passed along down the line, and at the end we all laugh because the word has changed so much that it's not recognizable. So similarly, the same situation happens in our life. Well, the art of communication is very complex, and we have to teach our young children from the very early age to communicate with each other and with other people. So let's just go over some terminology. Communication. This is a set of the techniques that we use to deliver your ideas, your thoughts to another person. And also, while doing that, keep the emotions that we put into this or that notion. So, in the communication, in the act of communication, we have the one who is speaking and the one who is receiving the information. So the act of communication is the process of delivering the information from one person to another and perceiving it the way it was designed to be perceived. The key to the success in the art of communication is the following. We have to convey the same ideas and the same emotions as to another person, the emotions and ideas that we have got. And we have to keep it as accurate as possible, so that the receiver of those ideas and emotions would be on the same foot with you, would have the same picture or the same atmosphere that you had while delivering this or that information. So very often our communication looks like a broken phone. Sometimes the person delivering the information ends up misunderstood, and that could cause detachment and disrespect. Let's talk about 8 building blocks of communication. So, and when we go over them, so we will get to the new level of communication. So the first brick of communication is state the facts and say how you feel about it. The second building block of communication, form your thoughts clearly and specifically. The third brick of communication is check whether you accurately understood the meaning of what the interlocutor or the speaker says. The fourth building block of communication is be attentive to the needs of the people who are listening to you. The fifth building block is in conflict situations, use the rules of communication that you know. The sixth building block, speak without words. The seventh communication, use your communication skills to say no without offending the person. And the last one, follow good advice to tell yourself the truth or learn to deal with lies. So let's start with the feelings and with the first block. So the first block is just state the facts. Okay, the communication state of people goes on two levels. The first level is just state the facts, and the second level is deliver and describe the feelings that you have at the moment or while talking about this or that fact. Facts matter really little. So, and they mean even less if the feelings are not added to those facts. So we should concentrate not only on the ideas that we are delivering, but also concentrate on the feelings that we provoke while delivering this or that information. And so very often we have to make time to analyze our feelings, what comments and what facts bring us to, what feelings we have as the reaction to the words of other people that we hear. So our reactions to the words of the people depend a lot on what relationship we are with the speaker in. So if we respect and appreciate the person who is delivering this or that information, we can understand and accept even the facts and information that is not pleasant to us. Um, very often we face the situation where that teenagers are not willing to talk about their feelings. So let's just go over some of the examples. For example, some your partner is asking you a question that is really troublesome and worrying and worrisome for him, but you answer in a very casual way, well, it doesn't really matter, or I don't care about that. And right away you are blocking his you're blocking him from your communication. Very often we tell the children, stop crying, so this is not that bad, stop making me laugh. And so right away you touch upon the feelings of the person. And once the child hears such comment, so he builds a block or an opposition um, to avoid the situations like that. You have to use very simple techniques of communication. You just deliver the fact, and at the same time, you share the feeling that that fact arises, produces in you. So that's a very simple formula that we would like to offer to your message. The message should include the fact and the feeling. When you add the feeling description to the fact, you bring your communication to a new level of understanding and acceptance by the person who you speak to. After a short practice, you will be able to use this technique successfully, and you will learn how to talk about your feelings and feelings of other people. Okay, so let's look at the situation. Let's say the child says, okay, I got a 3 in my test in English. um, let's imagine that if you add some feeling to the statement, that you are sure to get a different response. If you say, hey, I got a 3 in my English test, This is my second poor grade. This is awful. And right away, you provoke certain feeling in the person who you're talking to. So we would like to show you an example how people could talk to each other.
Вы знаете, они не всегда открыто говорили о своих
Well,
чувствах.
now two psychologists are speaking and they're giving us the examples of how you can ask a person a question. Lin Ti asks Mrs. Olga a question. Mrs. Olga, can you please tell me, did you talk to your parents often about your feelings? And how did that make you feel? And Mrs. Olga replies, well, so they did not talk to me a lot about my feelings, and I really, really felt bad about it. And while saying this, Mrs. Olga really provoked some emotions on the part of Lin Ti, who just started comforting the speaker and saying, finding excuses for the parents and bringing her to the idea that maybe the parents needs her forgiveness in this situation, because otherwise that is just a very troubling a situation, not for anybody but Mrs. Olga herself.
Мгм.
Another question that could be asked, and so the example is given by Miss Lin Ti. She's asking, Mrs. Olga, who do you prefer to talk to? So, what are the people who you like to talk to? And Mrs. Olga replies that, you know what, I try to talk to the people who respect me and who would listen to me.
Сейчас я вас спрошу. Мгм.
Now, vice versa,
Мне
Mrs.
важно для того,
Olga
чтобы
is
ваш
asking
docent
Miss Lin Ti. And so she is asking, like, why is it important for you to talk about the feelings? And Lin Ti is replying, it is important for me to talk about the feelings because then I am able to express myself and express my attitude to not only about the actions and the facts, but about the attitude towards other people.
у него недостаточный словарный запас.
So,
Ребенок не
thank you very
всегда
much for this
понимает
illustration. And the
иногда
speaker
понимает
carries
свои
on and
чувства
she
и
goes that
может
for the
выразить
child, it's
трудно.
very difficult to talk
Поэтому
about the feelings because, on one hand, they just do not possess the words that could describe their feelings, and on the other hand, they just do not have the
психолог школы,
experience
я знаю,
of
что вы проработали в школе
doing that.
психолога, и у вас большой опыт.
Ms.
Скажите,
Lindsay,
пожалуйста,
you are the school psychologist and you have a vast
пример,
experience.
потому
Can
что
you please give us the
можно утверждать, что
examples
детям трудно
of
это
the
теоретически
statements, the statement that
представлять.
I made, that it is
Пример.
difficult for children to talk about the feelings? Yes, and Ms. Lindsay says that yes, it is absolutely true. So the deeper the problems and the darker the emotions that the teenagers are experiencing, the more difficult it is for them to talk about their feelings. They find it rather difficult to describe their relationship with other people or problems. Um, my own experience is with my child, who I moved from one school to our international school of tomorrow, and I knew that it was not easy for him. The transfer was rather painful. However, I willing to support him. I tried to ask him questions like, "How are you feeling? So, what do you feel in the new school?" So, and my child was at a loss. My child was at a loss first to describe what he feels after he changed the school, and finally he found the word. He said, "You know what? I feel sorry." I feel really sad. And Lindsay asked, like, why do you feel sad about going to and changing the school and go? It looks like this is a nice school. And he says, no, I feel sorry that you didn't transfer me to this school earlier, because here I find people who just come to me and ask me questions like, how can I help you? And that was not only the teacher in the classroom, but just a random person in the hallway. And so the child was very amazed to be treated like that by a person that he doesn't know.
Как вам удалось добиться
Yeah, it's so. Okay, it's very important to discuss our relationship and our feelings with the children every day. And our plea is with you, dear parents, be open, be open to your children. Please remember that it's the adult who sets the tone of communication. Please pay attention to the age differences of your child. Please make sure that you communicate and you establish a certain level of trust. So the first the first rule of communication is talk about the feelings. The feelings make our world more understandable and our relationship more clear and dear to each other. So during our next sessions, we will be talking more about different ways to establish communication with your children. So, dear parents, we believe that that was a very important information, and I will not be surprised if you would have more questions, and we will be happy to answer some of them or all of them. If you would like to partner with us and to ask us more questions, you're welcome to contact us. We hope that that was very helpful. Um, I would like to bring this example to you. So one of the webinars, I shared this example of a young child in the preschool who was crying blue and murder during the school hours. And so we were asking, like, why is this child crying? It's not his first day of school. It's been a month that he is already in school. But the child says, my dad shouted at me in the morning. So, my goodness, it's afternoon already, and the child is still under the emotions and under the spell of the emotions of the morning. Of course, we did not go into the details and did not find out what the problem was with his dad in the morning. However, we would like to say that little things, little episodes like this influence the children a lot. That's why whatever experience we had as children in our childhood, sometimes this experience was not very positive. So let's just not drag it into our relationship with our children. Draw on that experience and learn to build the relationship with your child in a positive way, so that you wouldn't repeat the mistakes that were made to you. And all of this should be done with the main goal in mind, so that we would continue keeping our relationship with our children when they get to the teenage, when so that you would go through that teenage phase easily, so that you wouldn't even notice it, because you would have certain a level of trust that would allow you to be with your child, to stay with him through the troubles, and that would lead you to the point where neither you nor the child would betray each other. So remember, in the beginning of our webinar, we saw the pictures of the well taken care of orchard, and an orchard that needs a lot of work. Um, for us to have the beautiful garden of our children, to bring our dreams to fruition, we need to work together. And if I ask you, what is the ultimate goal that you set yourself in, regardless your child, I'm sure that many of you would say that that would be a happy person. And to form a happy child, we have to spend enough time with him. So every adult has a choice to leave the child with gadgets and allow ourselves to indulge ourselves in some pleasant entertainment or activities for ourselves, or we have the choice of finding some things that we could do together with the children, something that would be interesting both for you and the child, so that that would bring your family to closer relationship and would help you build certain level of trust. We would like to say that the webinar that we are enjoying today is a part of the series of the psychological training that we would like to offer to the families. However, whatever beautiful speakers we got, whatever nice concepts we cover, all of them will not bring fruit if we do not put all these wonderful ideas into practice. All the different ways of correction and motivation will be fruitless if we, as parents who love and enjoy the company of the parent of our children, if we do not engage into activities with our children. If you have any questions, there's a time now to put them into the chat, and Mrs. Olga would like to and to give you her ideas on this.
You can write to the chat, or you can send a personal message to me. I want you to know that we have this psychological service, if you did not know that, and we are ready to offer psychological help to children, and you see that we have a very good level in this field. Dear parents, I don't see any feedback in the chat. Probably someone is typing. We would like to go back to that slide of 8 building blocks. We would like you to see one more time this information. It's a very interesting source of information. Just a second, I will open this slide for you. I will share this slide for you. I would like to go over again one more time these 8 building blocks of communication. So the first one, state the facts and also say how you feel about them. Form your thoughts clearly and specifically. And the third one, check whether you accurately understood what your partner said. Fourth block was be attentive to the needs of your partner. of the speaker.
Сообщайте факты и говорите, что вы при этом чувствуете. Шестой кирпичик общения. Говори без слов.
The sixth block, speak without words. And seventh, use your skills of communication to say no without offending the person. And the eighth is follow good advice, how to dear parents, I would like to reiterate that all videos will be at our channel on the YouTube. So the video of this webinar will be posted there, and we got your request to see in more details these 8 blocks of communication with examples how to use this technology. Thank you very much, dear parents, for your support. Many thanks to you for accepting and following the advices, and we see that our efforts are not in vain. There was a question to Mr. Len, direct question. At what age Mr. Len started to teach his children to be independent in their responsibilities? When we're talking about teaching children how to be independent, we started the schedule of chores, of duties in the kitchen. We have a 3-part calendar that we are presented every year. So we have all of us, mom, dad, and our children. So the children have their chores so that mom and dad may wake up and drink the morning coffee in a clean kitchen. But sometimes, yes, sometimes we see traces of children eating at night. But most of the times we see clean kitchen in the morning. As there was a motivational speech of an American general who talked about making your bed. You start with a very simple chore, and it may be developed into more important responsibilities. Many thanks to you, dear parents, and we will see you next time on our next webinar. Thank you. Goodbye.